Hello, Dad. This is Jay Warren. This is the Dadhood Journey podcast, and today's topic is this: new dads, that first night alone. Let's do it.
Hi, my name's Nico, and you're listening to my dad, Jay Warren. This is the Dadhood Journey podcast. Thanks for listening. Pretty good. Now you listen to it.
Yep. All right, Dad. So I've been getting a lot of feedback in the Dadhood Journey group and emails that a lot of you who are joining up right now at this time of this recording, there's a lot of new dads in. Either you're in your pregnancy mode and getting ready for the birth, or it's the first few even days and weeks, and maybe even by the time you're listening to this, months of becoming a dad for the first time. So congratulations. And knowing, having been through that experience, and by taking care of a lot of families going through that experience, I want to pour into you guys and give you as much information as I can. So I'm going to be doing a bunch of different episodes about that for you new dads, to get as much as you can out of the experience, help you flex with that experience, and have it be a really beautiful experience, a strong, nurturing, bonding experience, rather than completely overwhelming and stressful. It's not going to take the overwhelm and the stress away, for sure. It's just a really intense time. But hopefully these little tidbits will help you through it. So the first thing I want to talk about is that first night alone at home when it's just you, your wife, and your baby. And I remember that night so well. So if you remember from my story, my son was born at home. We had midwives and a doula at our house, and so he was born at home. So there wasn't a kind of transition period of the birth, being in the hospital for a day or two, and then being discharged, and then going home. Or even if you're in a birth center, most birth centers send you home within hours or so of the birth, assuming everything's going okay. But that first night is very overwhelming. So my son, he was born on a Sunday, labored throughout the day, and he was born at 10:05 p.m., and everything was beautiful with him. He was doing healthy. His mom was doing great. And so the doula left, I'd say like a half hour after the birth was done. There's a lot of kind of skin-to-skin bonding that you're wanting to do, but you know, the midwives were checking Effie out and, you know, making sure like she was stable physically and emotionally she was intact, and the baby too, all those kind of things. And so the midwives are doing their thing, but when it came down to it, he was born at 10:05. At 11:30, they all left. And so an hour and a half after Nico came into the world, we were by ourselves at home at 11:30 at night. And I would say, so in Effie's experience, she was happy. She was like, get everybody out of here. I'm so overwhelmed. Like, I just want to be alone. I don't want all these people around. They, you know, not being antagonistic towards them. She was just overwhelmed, and she just wanted to decompress and be by herself. So she was happy with everybody leaving. But for me, honestly, I was like, you guys can stay. We got food downstairs. You know, you don't need to leave on my account. Like, and partly I was like, please stay. Like, I'm in the biz, you know, I take care of like pediatrics and pregnancy, and like I know a lot about that world, but it's totally different when you're a dad, and it's totally different when it's your responsibility. So I was nervous. I was really nervous. Just because like you don't know. Right? I mean, the midwives, I trusted that they would not leave if anything was wrong, either with Effie because of like postpartum stuff that can happen within the 24 hours, whether it's bleeding or blood pressure, or any of that kind of stuff. And they wouldn't leave if there was any signs at all that my baby was unstable at all. So I trusted in them in that. Intellectually, but in my heart, I was like, oh, crap, we're all by ourselves. And partly like that whole night we didn't sleep at all. We should have slept. Effie, the night before, her water had broken, but labor didn't start at all. So she rested, as I remember it, she rested that night. And I rested knowing, okay, at any moment she could start into labor and it's game time. So I wanted to try and rest as much as I could, but I was excited. But the adrenaline and the excitement of finally having our baby in the world was on tilt. So we were up talking and looking at him, and he was doing great. He was sleeping, and he'd nurse and all that kind of stuff. But I do remember feeling a tremendous responsibility of, all right, I'm in charge. I'm in charge. And again, me being a doc and being in pregnancy world and being in babies world, like I had a lot of clinical information, but I still didn't feel confident, right? And I don't know of any parent that doesn't. Some good friends of mine, when they had their first baby, the dad joked to me, he was like, yeah, when they were discharging, I was like, you know, we don't know what we're doing, right? Like, you're sending us home with this baby. Like, we don't know what we're doing. There's no manual for this thing. So if you have been through an experience, I'm sure you can relate, because that first night, if it's, you know, you did a home birth or you did a birth center birth and you're home that very first night, or if you're in the hospital for a couple of nights, going home by yourself is overwhelming. So what I recommend to you, Dad, is to do so, if you haven't been through it yet, to do prep and to kind of know like what to look for, not necessarily in a medical sense, because in the middle of the night, everything seems wonky and like everything seems to be like stressful because you're stressed, you're overwhelmed, you're probably sleep deprived, and there's this like precious little baby that's yours that you really don't know, like can't tell you what's wrong, right? So most of the time, 99.999% of the time, everything's fine. Like they're going to cry. They're going to be hungry. They're going to cry because they want to be on mom or be on dad. So lots of skin to skin helps. That helps regulate the baby's biorhythms. It helps calm you down. If you're doing it, helps calm mom down. It's a really great bonding thing. Like if mama and baby can just be skin to skin, chest to chest, like all night, all day, that first 24 hours at least, I highly recommend that. It makes a huge difference, and it makes breastfeeding that much easier because baby's already there, and there's a whole science behind it, but being skin to skin and doing the breast crawl and everything helps initiate breastfeeding signals for the baby to start coordinating that really well as for mom's hormonal sequences of letting breast milk down and having nursing start really well. So, but regardless, like that's where baby's going to feel most calm is on mama's chest. So that's something I'd highly recommend doing. But then also like for you, knowing that mom's going to be like with baby, mom's going to be nursing, those kind of things. And we'll talk about this more in these next couple of weeks, that's a large part of what mom's doing. So your job is to do everything else. But that first night, being able to support your wife in just doing that, like she needs to rest. She just labored for however many hours. Effie's labor is only 7 hours. That's not that long. It can be a lot longer, especially if it's in a hospital. If it goes long, there's a lot of overstimulation with nurses and docs and the stress and the bells and the whistles, all that kind of stuff. It's overwhelming. So going through that experience without having to take care of a newborn on the other end, it would take you days and weeks to recover from the birth, meaning your wife. So the more you can keep her hydrated, the more you can keep her fed, let her sleep. If she needs to sleep and can't be with baby skin to skin, you take baby, you're doing diaper changes, get up to speed on diaper changes. those are the things that will make that first night that much better. And to go back to what I had originally said, like not necessarily like knowing how to do like CPR and all those kind of things, because that is so rare. But infant CPR classes are good to have, just so you have that in the back of your mind that you can help if something drastic happens right away. But knowing and hearing that 99.9999% of the time, the first night is everything goes just fine, even if baby's crying and it's hard to console because you're figuring each other out. Like, it's usually because baby's gone through a big transition from womb to world, and they're just trying to figure it out. You know, they went abruptly from temperature controlled, food on demand, dark, relatively quiet environment inside mama, and then through this birth getting squeezed out the vaginal canal, coming into a bright world that's colder than her body temperature, has to learn this eating thing, trying to poop out like all this stuff they need to poop. Like, it's just a big transition. Think about that, you know? So the first 24 hours and days, we'll talk about that in a bit too. Just a lot of change. So I hope that helps for you dads that have been through it. Chime in, see if there's something that you guys did or had a challenge with that you now know of that you'd like to share with a dad-to-be who hasn't had their baby yet. And if you're a new dad or dad-to-be, just know, like, do some prep so you have that part of your mind settled, that you kind of know what to expect on that time. And then also when you're in that first night and being stressed and worried about it, and yes, she's going to be checking if the baby's breathing every hour, like all the time. You will too, because you're in charge, but knowing that it's totally normal and 99.9999% of the time, everything's fine, and relax into it, that you're going to figure it out. And that's what that whole process of the first days and weeks and even months is all about, which we'll be talking more about. So I hope this helps, Dad. Until the next time we connect on an episode, just take good care of yourself. Take good care of your families, and we'll see you on the next one.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. You can hang out with other dads in our Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, search for the Dadhood Journey, and apply to get in. See you there, and see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Perfect.
Here we go, Dan.